So, are you brave enough to change your thinking in order to live a happier life? I think that's a valid question to ask ourselves because we can have a tendency to get a little attached to the way we think about things. Yes? Mm hmm. Mm hmm. Ernest Holmes is the author of The Science of Mind, which is the philosophy that we teach from. And he asks the question, can you bear the consequences of the way you are thinking? I love that question. Can you bear the consequences of the way you are thinking? As I've played with this question this week, played around with it, I have too frequently caught myself thinking negative thoughts and thoughts of lack and all sorts of things that I do not, I promise you, want to live the consequences of my thinking. So it was very profound for me to have that experience and to catch myself in the act, so to speak, many times. So what do you think of when you're not really thinking? You know, those times when your mind wanders off someplace and you're thinking about something and all of a sudden you come back to full consciousness and go, what was I thinking about? Or why was I thinking about that? Or all those things. Am I the only one? Okay, very good. Are you creating an envisioned future in those moments? Well, actually, yes, you are. Is it the one you want? Is the bigger question. Is it the one that you want? Or are you worrying about something that might happen in the future or stressing over what happened yesterday or what might happen a year from now? What's going on? Can you bear the consequences of your thinking? So, our message today is, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Yeah, it used to be public speaking is the big fear everybody has, or maybe going to the dentist, or snakes and spiders. Today, the data is showing us that it's shifted a bit, that we're more worried about things like the economy, inflation, social security, political polarization, division, mistrust, mismanagement, and confrontational communications. We're also concerned about things like global warming, climate change, wars, shifting alliances, and global uncertainty. And let's not forget, we have this 24/7 news cycle that we can pick up in our hand at any moment, and social media and all of those places and things that keep us informed, right? Keep it live. It's no wonder we're hearing about so much anxiety in our country these days. There's apparently a lot to be concerned about if we judge by appearances, by what we hear. In our Science of Mind teaching, we know that fear is a mental construct. It starts in the mind. It begins with our thoughts before we begin to feel the the fear, before we begin to experience it even in our bodies. Fear is an emotion that can cause sweaty palms, butterflies, nervousness, facial expressions, all sorts of things. It's an emotion within the body, but it starts in the mind. Has anyone heard of Louise Hay? Well, of course, Louise Hay. She was a wonderful Science of Mind minister and practitioner and an author as well. And one of her most famous books is You Can Heal Your Life. Within that is buried another little book that she extrapolated and published called You Can Heal Your Body. And in that, she lists a plethora of ailments of the body. And she lists then, let's see what she calls it. She says the dis-ease, the body problem is the dis-ease within the body. Then there's probable causes of those dis-eases. And then there's a new thought pattern, or what we might call an affirmation, for healing it. That's her structure in that book. Well, I just opened it up randomly this weekend and found on this particular page there were 6 diseases listed, and the probable cause for each one included anger, irritation, fear, feeling victimized, and being critical of others. The new thought or affirmation for each was to affirm and feel love and peace. Imagine that. She suggests, as does our teaching and medical community today, scientific studies have proven that how we think about ourselves and our environment can manifest in our bodies. If we think about love and peace, our bodies respond. They also respond to anger and irritation and fear and feeling victimized and being critical, criticizing. Ernest Holmes says all irritation and agitation are mental in their cause, and a sense of calm and peace alone can heal them. Fear is an intense emotion, and if bottled up, secretes poison into the system. Anger, malice, vindictiveness, and kindred emotions are but subtle forms of fear. Powerful words from Dr. Holmes. I hear so many conversations that start with anger, but you can feel the fear beneath that. You can feel and sense the fear beneath that if we're not attached to what they're talking about. There's blaming them, whoever them happens to be at the time, but something external, whether it's Washington, D.C. and their cast of characters, or foreign countries and their leaders, or maybe it's closer to home and it's an insurance company that we're upset with, right? We've all had that. Maybe it's traffic, or maybe it's bankers, lawyers, whatever. Somebody to blame, right? Somebody to get angry about, somebody to get frustrated about. But if we think more deeply about it, we can find that there's some fear around whatever is happening that's causing this anger to bubble up. As I worked on the topic this week and thought about my own personal experience of what am I afraid of, I came up with 3 things that I think work against us really in this realm of fear. The first is attention is currency. Attention is currency. Now, you've probably heard things like what we resist persists, where attention goes, energy flows. What we talk about here, what you focus on expands. And we usually think of those things in the affirmative and using them as part of our spiritual practice to affirm and putting our attention on what it is we want to expand in our life. But it works the same way with fear. If we're focused on fear and fearful things, that's going to expand in our life. The second is the vibration of mass consciousness. And I think our connectivity in the technological realm, all of those wonderful things that we have available to us, is adding fuel to this, because it's easier to jump on the bandwagon, so to speak, in this vibration of mass consciousness. When a lot of people get together to be afraid, to fight, to be angry, whether that's in person or online, that mass consciousness, again, jumping on the bandwagon, I've got to comment on that too. Let me comment on that too. Let me comment on that too. Whatever the issue is, keeps getting bigger, right? It keeps getting bigger because everybody's throwing these explosive ideas at it, throwing fuel onto that fire. And it amplifies the negativity and it gives it more energy. Have you ever heard the phrase making a mountain out of a molehill? That's what can happen with mass consciousness when we're throwing fuel on the fire of something negative. Imagine if we could do that with something positive and have that expand and expand and expand. Imagine the difference and how people would feel behind their own computers as they were reading that instead of reading and scrolling through these negative comments. If they were reading something positive and somebody else chimed in and expanded and made it bigger and better and somebody else chimed in. Imagine finding that. The third thing that works against us is just our biology. It's our biology because our survival instincts have us constantly scanning for danger. Anybody remember? Every time I say the word danger, I think of the robot on Lost in Space. Danger, danger, Will Rogers, there's danger. It's all he ever said. But today, our danger is more psychological than it is physical. But our mind doesn't know the difference, does it? There's a lot of scientific studies that have proven that we can't differentiate between whether it's real or whether it's just something in our imagination or something that we're looking at from afar. And what happens when we do that is that this constant alert causes our bodies to work like they're supposed to and produce cortisol, which is known as the stress hormone, which is now flooding our bodies on a more constant basis. So we're constantly in this heightened state. So, how can we overcome our fears and dissolve some of this anxiety? The difference between anxiety and fear is typically a short-lived thing. It's shorter in time. Anxiety is that just constant underlying fear that something's not right. And that continues to produce that cortisol at that level that keeps it coursing through us, as opposed to fear, which is a jolt of it and then it dissipates. So, how can we overcome fear and dissolve some of this to live more peacefully? Does anybody want to live more peacefully? Yeah. Can the science of mind help us do that? That's really where I started with this message. What are we afraid of, and how can the science of mind help us with this? As I said, fear is a mental construct. It begins in the mind, formed by the way that we interpret events and circumstances. And the science of mind teaches that our thoughts create our experience, not the other way around. Not the other way around. It also teaches us that principles not bound by precedent. And I think that's an important principle to remember about life, is that just because something's happened one way in the past doesn't mean it's going to always happen that way. Principles not bound by that. Only we are if we allow our minds to think that way. Fear doesn't come from out there. Fear comes from in here, from the story we tell ourselves about whatever this is. When we change the story, we can dissolve the fear. How do we do that? Well, I have 4 little points for us about that. The first is we have to shift our focus. We have to shift our focus by choosing what we feed our minds. Many of us have chosen to feed our bodies a healthier diet, have a healthier lifestyle. It's time to do the same for our minds. We need to be intentional with our news, with our conversations, and with social media. It's important to do our own research, to not just trust whatever's out there, especially today. It's said not to trust anything, everything at all that we see, read, or say here. That's the word, here. Because of the advancements of artificial intelligence, it's getting really good. It's getting really good. A couple of weeks ago, I was watching a video for service, and I probably watched 30 seconds to a minute of it before I went, that's not a real person. It was an AI generated video of a famous star. And it took a few minutes for me to realize that it wasn't her. Yeah. So we've got to be aware. The shifting our focus from what we've been feeding our minds to feeding our minds good things. I haven't watched a news program in years. I'll see a headline and I occasionally will read something, but I'm selective about what I'm reading. I'm selective about what my sources are, and I'm selective about the time of when I take it in and how much of it I will take in. I control the content. I control the timing. Yesterday, as I was finishing up everything, I went on our Facebook page for Scottsdale CSL, and I think I spent 15 or 20 minutes cleaning it up. So much junk media has gotten on there, sports stuff and videos about raccoons and things that just don't necessarily belong on a spiritual center's Facebook page. So I'm deleting and unfollowing. I never followed anybody, but there they are. And there were horror movies, with the videos going when you scrolled by, and it's like, I don't need to see that stuff. So just like cleaning up our social media page, we clean up our minds and what we allow to come in there. We clean up our minds. This is all part of my mental mastery program of how to clean up my thinking, how to feed myself more uplifting things so that that's where my focus and my attention is. So that's the currency, right? That's where the increase is coming. That's where the increase is coming. Some of us took self mastery, the class, and that was part of that self mastery is mastering our minds. And when it's wandering off, we are creating a powerful, envisioned, positive future, not doom and gloom for ourselves. The second thing is spiritual centering. And for me, this is my daily meditation time. This is the time when I reconnect with divine. I reconnect with spirit. I reconnect with source, with God. I know who I am as part of that. Excuse me. I also use affirmative prayer every day, not only for myself, my health, wealth, happiness, loving relationships, and creative expression, but for each one of you and our center. That's my work. That's my work, is knowing that about all of us. Affirmative prayer is probably the most powerful tool that we have. It's unique to Centers for Spiritual Living. And Ernest Holmes explains why it's such a powerful tool. He says, in metaphysical practice, we arrive at conviction through a process of thinking. That process is the affirmative prayer and the 5 steps. The process itself is not the conviction, it's the road that leads to it. We must be willing to subject our mind to conscious self-training until we have a clear realization of truth, which the intuition feels and the intellect must proclaim. Prayer treatment's that process that gets us there. That first step of recognizing that there's nothing outside of the divine. And then we unify ourselves with that because there's nothing outside of it, and that means us too. And when we get ourselves to believing that, to embodying that, then whatever we state as our affirmation in the realization phase is done deal. We've accepted it. We believe by that point because we believe those first 2 steps. When we know that we know that we know, when we believe that deeply, that's when the law then knows what to do for us because our belief is so strong. The truth then becomes revealed, whatever we have been treating for. Gratitude is the next step of that. And gratitude, we're grateful for what we have realized, the new conviction that we have of the truth, the belief that we have embodied because of the prayer treatment. Establishing a gratitude practice is also part of this program of shifting our emotional vibration. 3 things a day that we're grateful for. Write them down. Develop a gratitude practice, because when we're in gratitude, like our quote this morning, we're in love at that point because we're so grateful for everything that we have, and we stay grounded and centered in that. Number three, to overcome fear is to remember that anything's possible. We say we live in a field of infinite possibilities, and anything is possible in this spiritual system in which we believe, as long as that we live, as long as we believe. It is done unto us as we believe. Belief is the important emotional energy that we bring to the party of manifesting our lives. Fear thrives when we allow our imagination to go off and get hijacked. Worst case scenarios. Oh my gosh, I got to prepare for every possible thing that could happen here. Well, what if instead of that, what if we got prepared for the good, for the thing that we said we wanted to really happen? What if we got prepared to receive that? Prepared to bear the consequences of that thinking? Are we ready to receive it? Or is it just something that would be nice, but I'm not really prepared to receive all of that good health, that relation? What do I have to do every day if I didn't have to have doctor's appointments and call the insurance company? What would I do with my time? I don't have possibly have any time in my life for a relationship, so that's just crazy to even think about. Change jobs? Do you know how hard that would be? Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Why would I change jobs at this point? Yeah, I'm miserable and I don't like any of these people and they don't like me, but that's okay, right? Does anybody have any of these subconscious thoughts? It's too much effort to make the change. But gosh, wouldn't it be nice to be happy, joy filled, healthy? So we have to be willing to bear the consequences of what it is we're treating for. Anything is possible as long as we believe. Ours is to believe and be prepared to receive it. What if it all goes right? Through the power of our imagination, we can vision higher possibilities for our lives and the lives of our friends and family. And that's a fun thing to do. That's a very fun thing to do. Imagine how you would feel living in a healed, whole, and harmonious world. Be kind of a fun place to play in for a while, wouldn't it? Number four, the last way we can change our mind about fear is to accept our individual responsibility for the whole. Yep, we teach oneness. We believe in oneness. That means we're all connected. And we're all responsible for each other and for our planet. If something in my body is sick, I'm going to heal it. I'm going to heal it. If something is sick in the larger body of consciousness of our planet and the people within it, I need to work to heal it because that's part of me too. That's part of me too. One mind, one energy in which we all live. My personal vibration, your personal vibration contributes to the whole. If everybody got negative, if everybody got just not believing in anything at all, no good whatsoever, we would just implode. But there's enough of us that believe in good that can keep that vibration up, even though there's a certain amount that don't believe in good. They want bad, they want to do bad things. There's enough of us that keep the balance, that keep the balance. We sometimes sing the peace song, peace begins with me, and that's exactly where it starts, is right here within each one of us. And then we ripple that out to our little group of friends and family. And then they've got friends and family they ripple out to. And they ripple out and they ripple out. And the next thing you know, we've got a pretty big ripple on the pond of good, of peace, of love, and of harmony. If that's too big to imagine, just choose not to contribute to tearing it down more. Choose not to spread fear, spread rumors, gossip, outrage, hopelessness. Ain't it awful? Let me chime in on that and how bad it is. We do not help the whole by tearing holes in the fabric of life. Sometimes the world feels loud and messy and full of uncertainty. It's up to us to shine our light out there. Shine our light on the fear, shine our love on the fear, and become the change we really say we want to be. If you would like to explore more about our philosophy, you can register for the Mindful Monday and also get the bonus newsletter on Saturdays. And this week, your spiritual practice is to convert fear to faith. I somewhere have a worksheet for you, which you can pick up after service. And let's run through them. Yeah, they're up there. It's small. I've got a worksheet. Don't worry about it. First is you name the fear. What is that fear that's rattling around in your brain, your mind, your heart? An example, what I'm afraid I won't have enough money to pay my bills. That sometimes happens. Step 2 is to acknowledge it with no judgment. No judgment. I was so stupid. I did that. I can't believe I did that. No judgment. Just acknowledge it. This is just a thought I'm having. It is not the truth of who I am. Number 3, find the opposite truth. In the science of mind, we teach that you find the polar opposite of the thing, of the challenge. What is the loving, faith-filled truth that is opposite of this fear? I live in an abundant universe and all my needs are met with ease. That's a great affirmation, isn't it? Speak the faith statement. Write your new faith statement in bold, clear language. Say it out loud 3 times or until you believe it. Anybody have prayer beads or mala beads? I think there's 108 on there. And you say your affirmation that many times until you run out of beads on the other end. Because something happens in those affirmations that suddenly you begin to believe as you've repeated them so many times. And so that's why we say 3 times or until you believe it. Just keep going. Visualize how you will feel when you're living that new truth. I live in an abundant universe and all my needs are met. Number 5 is to repeat and anchor. List 1 or 2 actions you can take today to live from this truth. You can use this worksheet all week. You can use it for anything you want to. It's your private thing to play with. So the next time that fear whispers, I can't, let your faith declare, watch me. Let's close this morning with a quote from Emma Curtis Hopkins, who says, the world will persist in exhibiting before you what you persist in affirming the world is. This week, let's affirm the world is good. And so it is. And it's your turn if you have any questions or comments about our talk today. These out while I'm walking around and give you a minute to think. You'll do it? Okay, y'all can think. Anybody? Yes.
I have no questions. I feel like you gave me so many answers to questions I didn't even realize I had. And I'm just ready to take on this week. So thank you for putting this service together the way that you did. And it just was so rich and valuable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Comment or question?
When I saw in the newsletter what the talk today was going to be about, I was very excited to hear it. Thank you for all of the wisdom that you brought through. I was thinking, when I was a little kid, I used to hear about consciousness raising groups.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a term I haven't heard at all lately. And, we think maybe we shifted that online, but being in person together and raising consciousness sounds like an exciting thing to do. I may have to start a consciousness raising.
I was going to say, I will support you in that. We'll open this center up for consciousness raising. Absolutely. I think, let's see, what do we call those growing up? Revivals. Yeah, used to have revivals. Huh? All right. All right. Well, thank you all very much. Would you join me for prayer? As we just take a breath and realize in this moment, there is nothing but the divine. There's nothing but God, Spirit, Source. Feeling the life Spirit run through us, feeling our heartbeat, our breath. We're alive. And we live in this realm of infinite possibilities in this spiritual system designed specifically for us to thrive. And so today, as we remember that, we focus on that truth. We focus on whatever desire we may have, releasing and letting go of all of those things that no longer serve us. The thoughts that tear down, the thoughts that bring fear, the beliefs that may have served us in the past but no longer do. And just raise our consciousness in this moment to believing in the possibilities for our lives, for the achievement of our dreams, our goals, for happiness, for success, for peace, for love, for ourselves, our families, our friends. It's possible. So in this moment, I speak my word for and about all of us, just claiming that to be true. That as we hold these thoughts of possibility in our mind, that we open channels never before opened to allow the good to flow through us and to be manifest as part of our lives as we are ready, willing, and able to bear these consequences of our good with expanded awareness, to open, to receive, and to circulate and share that good. I speak my word today also for and about our center, knowing that Scottsdale Center for Spiritual Living is a divine idea in the mind of God, and that it is abundantly sourced with love and joy and peace and volunteers and congregants and all of those who seek this greater experience of the divine, of knowing who we are, remembering who we are, and bringing that light forward into a world that can sometimes be dark and scary and confusing. We shine our lights brightly. And for this, I am grateful. Grateful for the manifestation of this prayer, for the belief that I know and feel in my heart that it is so. And we affirm this truth together as we say, and so it is.